Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Gopal Krishna Vishnamitani Prabhupada Saitamya Prakasha Vitirja Pacharan Kurasaragat Patima Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paśyati Desatarine Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyanan-gyana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakavalang Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Sirupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadbhadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakambitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavanishwari Visabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kipasindubhyaiva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we continue reading from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. So we read what? Text 30? Prakṛtyaiva. Okay, let's do this first. Prakṛtyā eva cha karmāṇi kriyamāṇāni sarvaśaḥ ya paśyati tathā ātmānam akartāraṁ sa paśyati. Word for word meaning prakṛtyā, by material nature, eva, certainly, cha, also, karmāṇi, activities, kriyamāṇāni, being performed, sarvaśaḥ, in all respects, ya, anyone who paśyati, sees tathā also ātmānam himself, akartāraṁ the nondoer, sa he paśyati sees perfectly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Everybody please repeat. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Purport. This body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. So this body is made of two types that we have right now. The soul is embodied into this matter, made of matter, but of two types. One is gross and one is subtle. Gross, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the subtle is the mind, intelligence, and ego. So it says that the soul doesn't move. The soul is stationary. But what makes the soul move is because of the dictation of the mind and the intelligence. If it's not on the transcendental platform, the intelligence is stolen by Maya. Maya aparitāgyāna. And if the ego is in wrongly situated, understanding that I am the doer, but he is not the doer. It is the material energy under the modes of material nature. Specifically if the ego thinks that he is the master. That means he is not in real ego, the soul. The soul is like a passenger, explains here in the Bhagavad-Gita, just like the chariots are compared to the wild senses, uncontrolled senses. Has to be controlled by the mind. The mind is the rein, controlling. Between the intelligence and the senses, the mind is there. And the intelligence is the driver. And the soul is the passenger. So, the passenger, the soul, is just like sitting in a chariot, and the wild senses wants this, want that, different things to enjoy. The mind is uncontrolled, so the mind is making all the plans, all the arrangements for the senses to be fulfilled, to enjoy the sense objects. And the intelligence, because not properly educated, no knowledge about the Supreme Absolute Truth. And the ego, thinking that he is the doer, but actually he is the modes of material nature. It says here in the verse, One who can see that all activities are performed by the body. It's like a puppet. You've seen that picture in the Bhagavad-Gita? Huh? The puppet? Strings are attached. Material energy personified. These three, or the things that, the strings that is attached to the puppet are the three modes of material nature. So therefore, according to the way how the puppeteer would want the puppet will dance, the puppet will dance, or the puppet will do whatever according to the dictations of the material energy, and to the desires that we want to be fulfilled, and the activities that we perform during our lifetime, and at the time of death, whatever we are thinking of, everything will be awarded by the material energy. We cannot make a choice at the time of death. Oh, I want to be like heavenly body, to have a heavenly body next life. You cannot make a choice. It's like predetermined during the lifetime now. So whatever we're doing day after day after day will determine what will be our next life. And some say, oh, when I get old, I will be a little bit more serious. A little bit more serious. I will try my very best to think of God, to think of Krishna. But no, we cannot choose that. It is not depending on us, because our voice will be choked up. Gara, gara. Especially those who are totally engrossed in the mode of ignorance and passion, perform sinful activities during their whole life. Then the Yamadutas will come. They cannot choose, oh, I don't like you, I want the Vishnudutas in front of me. It's not possible. So the body is made by material nature. Karmāṇa deva netrena. There is a verse I was just looking. Prakriti kriyamāṇāni gunai karmāṇi sarvaśaḥ. Ahankara bimudhatma akartāraṁ iti manyate. Foolish person, he thinks that he's a doer, but actually he is being dictated by the modes of material nature. Prakriti, material nature. So this is the journey of the soul. It just transfer from one body to the next, so-called enjoy or happy. But that happiness is temporary. There are more distress, there are more sufferings than happiness. One is forced to do it, to be in that body, due to the modes of material nature. Even though the super soul, it mentions here, super soul is within each and every living beings, traveling from different species of life, from one to another, birth after birth. But at the same time, the soul never gives up on us. The soul always dictating, please come. Please come. Go back home, back to Godhead. But we're so foolish. No, not this time. Maybe next life. Maybe next life. The self, however, is outside of these bodily activities. It has nothing to do. Ultimately, we're like encaged the body is temporary. As Prabhupada made an example, we give an example, it's like our body is custom made, tailor made to what the soul desires. Because being in illusion, the soul thinks that he is the body, and therefore whatever he desires, whatever material desires he wishes to fulfill, it can be only fulfilled with a certain type of body that will fulfill that desire. And therefore the soul is just being encaged, is being carried on from next body to the next. 8,400,000 species of life. We were reading I was in Chandigarh for the last 5 days, and we were reading about King Puranjana. Actually, we're all King Puranjana. We're attached to this body. We're so attached to this body, we don't want to leave this body, even at the time of death. And at the time of death, our body will be choked up. We're so attached to this body that we don't have any choice. We don't have any choice. We cannot remain in this body eternally. But we think we're going to live in this body eternally. We all make so many plans and arrangements to beautify the body, to give so much importance to this body. But then we have forgotten the person embodied in this body. That at old age will be so much sufferings that we have to endure. Disease, kalakanya, old age. He says that everyone, or jara, yes, jara. Jara means old age. And death is there. Before death, old age is there. And it says that all of us actually are all old because we don't know when are we going to die. We don't know when are we going to give up this body. Even a child just took birth today and died tomorrow. That means the child is already old. Even though time-wise it's not even 1 year old or 1 day old. Is already old because of death. And who can guarantee that you're not gonna die in 10 years or 1 year or 10 months or 7 days? Actually, we're all gonna die in 7 days, like Parikshit Maharaj. Either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Any one of those days. We don't know. So, a very intelligent personality, he would want to find out exactly how to stop the cycle of repeated birth and death. Not just to mitigate. And this is what the scientists are doing. They're all trying to figure out how to keep you a little bit more comfortable, mitigate the disease, not to stop death. Disease, you may have one today, tomorrow you'll have a different one. The next day you'll have a different one. But they don't want to find out, and they cannot find out. They will never find out how to stop death. But here in the Bhagavad-Gita, it tells us, Chakba deham punarjanma na itimam iti sa Arjuna. All we have to do, and this is what we're doing every day, we're trying to develop this knowledge whereby we'll be able to understand who is Krishna everything that has relationship with Krishna, his birth, his activities, to be divine, and therefore it burns all the miseries and sufferings and all the conditioned state, all the sufferings that we have. This is the reason why we're studying the Bhagavad-Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, in order for us to become free from the cycle of repeated birth and death. And we are in that part now in the Bhagavatam in Chandigarh, where a person is about to leave the body. So for the next 5 days, I was always thinking, wow, every day we're talking about death. Death, 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 death. And our movement is like that. We talk more about death, not how to live. We talk about how to live also, but we talk most of the times what's going to happen to us at the time of death and after death. Because for the devotees, ultimately there is no death. May change the body next life, but the activities that we do will just continue on. Unlike the materialists, they perform material activities. Next life, they're going to start from scratch. They're going to in there, or they will have to suffer more. Birth, death, old age, and disease. And for the devotees, there is no death. The self, however, is outside of all these bodily activities. Yeah, the self, the soul doesn't have anything to do with matter. But nature provides this body for the soul, because the soul wanted to be happy separate from Krishna. But the soul cannot be happy without Krishna. You can only be happy with Krishna. Alone is not possible to be happy. That means we may take repeated birth, death again and again in the material form, and we will never be happy. Only when we allowed ourselves to be enjoyed by Krishna. What does it mean by allowing ourselves to be enjoyed by Krishna? Allowing ourselves to be enjoyed by Krishna means to serve Krishna. If we serve the Master, then we are letting the Master to enjoy us. In the material world, we want to enjoy. No, it's not possible to enjoy. We need to sacrifice. We need to perform austerities. So in this way, if we perform those sacrifices and austerities for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then we will only be happy. We will only be enjoying just like the Supreme Lord, up to a certain extent. We have the same constitutional, the qualities, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity, but up to a certain degree. Unfortunately, at the moment, no. Due to the false identification with the body, that's why we suffer. That's why we have temporary sense of happiness, and we are not satisfied with whatever material comforts or pleasure in the material world. This body is given according to one's past desires. So we all have desires. There'll be not a moment that we will not have any desire. Yes, the Bible says also we should be desireless. Our desire should be in line with the desire of the Supreme Lord and His bona fide representative, the Spiritual Master. Then that is desireless. That means on our own, I don't have any desire. Or if I have any desire, it should be only according to the Supreme Lord's desire. And what is the Supreme Lord's desire? For me to go back home, back to Godhead. For me to get out of this world. For me not to suffer anymore. Then that is proper desire. Even an ant has a desire to enjoy sugar. Look for sugar. Enjoy sugar. So we should be looking for that eternal happiness where we will really enjoy with full of knowledge and eternally. And that can only be found by engaging in bhakti. Without any tinge for fruitive desire and mental speculation. So yes, we take up a different form of body, birth after birth, due to our desires. Now desires cannot be killed. It's not possible. There's no way that you can suppress your desire. Desire will always be there. But we have to properly situate where our desire should be focused on. Then we will be really happy. Devotees of the Lord, because their desire is only to please Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas, then they're always happy. They're properly situated. And even sometimes devotee says, oh, I don't mind even I take birth in hell. You've heard of that? Or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayers. You may trample me to death. You may squeeze me by your embrace. But I just want your pure devotional service. Nothing else. So for devotees, they don't mind taking birth in hell. Oh, taking birth in hell, just to think about it. Well, speaking about hell, when Prabhupada was in London, he arrived. So a reporter asked him, what do you think of London? Prabhupada says, London is hell. Ultimately, if you are not connected to Krishna, that means you're in hellish condition. But there are certain places where hell means the place where the conditioned souls are being punished. So what will you do there? Maybe you'll be chanting Hare Krishna, trying to engage them in Harinam Sankirtan. Or if there's any books, then you are distributing Srila Prabhupada's books there. But in some places and planet also is considered as hellish, especially places where the four regulative principles are being broken or being expressed or experienced or uncontrolled. So like there's a place called Sin City, capital of the world. Sin City, just imagine that. Sin City, capital. That means all the four regulative principles are being broken to the highest degree. And even the authorities, they cannot control them. So they okay, you can do whatever you like. At least in India we are controlled. But in some places in the world it's fully under control. Not in control, out of control. So it's very difficult for the devotee. But we have a temple there in Las Vegas. We have a temple. A devotee opened the temple in Las Vegas. So just imagine how you can preach in those places. But that is the best place. The best customers for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is that place. To fulfill desires, one is given the body with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. Again, we have to curtail these desires. If we have to be properly situated, we have to know what to desire. It's like when you go parikrama in Govardhan Hill, Krishna is there right beside you, on your right hand side. So you must be very, very careful what to think and what to desire while you're doing parikrama, even Vrindavan parikrama. Or if you go to Kamyavan. What's Kamyavan means? Where everything, all your wishes becomes fulfilled. That's the forest, Van, where all your desires, Kamyavan. Of course, there is the transcendental Cupid, Kama, lust. And also, there is the transcendental love. So, you must be very careful what to think of. If you're going to have a desire, one single desire, what would that be? Some they go, some couples, we want to have a child. Or businessman, I want to have my business to flourish. I want to have my business to become successful. Each and everyone has his own desire. That's why each and every one of us has different forms of body. And only in this body that desire will be fulfilled. Or we took birth in a certain family whereby only in that particular body that our children or our parents or ourselves, that all of us together, collectively or individually, will be able to fulfill that desire. So what will be your desire? Okay, you don't have to tell me. Keep it to yourself. Yes. Some, they want to be Krishna. That is their desire. Some wants to replace Krishna. Some wants to be the Supreme Master. But a devotee's only desire is how he can increase his love and service towards the Supreme Lord. Like the Brajabasis, they don't have any other desires. What is their desire? Is their desire to enjoy? No. Only to be with Krishna, only to give Krishna more and more love, only to serve Krishna, only to see Krishna happy. Even they themselves will be bereft of happiness. Like the gopis. They don't mind going to hell. They would even give the dust from their lotus feet because Krishna is having a headache. And the queens of Dwarka, no way. We're not going to give this dust from our feet because we go to hell. Unlike the gopis, this is, okay, you can take as much as you like. We don't mind going to hell. Are we ready to do that? Are you ready to do that? Huh? Only when you're ready to do that, then you will attain love of God. If there is even an iota of reservation, we will never attain love of God. It's not possible. Because Krishna wants 100%. He's not asking 2% or 98% or 99%. Sarvadharman parityaja. Give up everything. Even our own self-interest. He's not asking for a discount. No discount here. Full. You must be ready to pay the full price. And that's why we're still here in this material world, because we're not ready to pay the full price. We want to bargain, like in Loy Bazaar. For you, I don't make profit. Okay, as you like, you pay as you like. But it's not possible to pay as you like. There must be a certain price, right? You know that if the vendor asks you, tell you, oh, you pay as you like, that means he's making a lot of profit here. Then how can you deal with him? But Krishna is asking us directly to Arjuna. No flattering to Arjuna. Direct. Give me everything what you have. Do everything for me. Not 50-50 or some percentage. And therefore, Arjuna fulfill Krishna's wish to do everything for him. And therefore, we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna. This is why the Bhagavad-Gita was spoken again 5,000 years ago. Now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it so easy. He made it so easy. There is no condition. The only thing that we have to do is chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. No condition. But then, as soon as you start chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that's it. Your material life is finished. Just keep chanting, even though material desires are there. Material desires are there. That is natural. That is normal. But keep chanting and never stop chanting, because the material desires will become purified. The chanting itself, who is none other than Supreme Lord Krishna, purifies our completely, even our own material desires. As Prabhupada says, that Sarvadharman Parichaja instruction by Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago is the same instruction when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave that instruction to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And still we're finding it so difficult to finish our rounds. It's not so easy to chant 16 rounds. Well, it's easy to chant 16 rounds inattentively. But to chant 16 rounds attentively, without any offenses, is a big fight. With whom? With your mind. And what is the mind? Your subtle body. Still, it doesn't have anything to do with the soul. But this subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego, travels with the soul, birth after birth, in different species of life. The gross body remains. It will be decomposed, or it will be burned, or it will be eaten by insects, or by vultures. But the mind, intelligence, and ego, those are the three subtle elements that needs to be purified. When the mind becomes purified, then it becomes peaceful. When the intelligence becomes purified, then your knowledge about the absolute truth will help you. And the ego has to be purified. Instead of thinking that we are this body, we have to realize that we are not this body and we are spirit soul. Then ultimately, when all of those three subtle elements, the body, settled body, becomes purified, then consciousness becomes purified, then we'll go back home, back to Godhead. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. So here from this verse we can understand that who is the real seer? It is the soul. It is not the mind. It is not the intelligence. It's not the ego. But it is the soul. If we can see, that means our eyes can see, but without the soul, the eyes is dead. We cannot really see. If the soul is not within the body, I can taste the best Mahaprasad, but it will not have taste. It is dead. I can hear, or my ear can listen to the best bhajan, the best pastimes of the Supreme Lord, but if the soul is not there, then the ears also will not be able to hear. Right? You can smell the best fragrance coming from the Lord's garlands, but if the soul is not there, then your nose cannot smell. So we really have to understand that it is the soul that made this possible, that made it possible for all of these senses to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so the senses are purified. We have to purify the mind. Always think of Krishna. Never forget Him. Use the intelligence properly. Make proper decision. Understand that we're not the body and that we're all servants of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, says here that the transcendental vision of the living entity will be developed. And when it's developed, then we will be able to understand and make a distinction. Therefore, we can tell, oh, am I doing right or wrong? For a materialist intoxicated with sense enjoyment, they cannot really distinguish. As Prabhupada gave an example, a drunken man, he cannot even distinguish whether he's wearing his coat or not. Right? But for a devotee, he can distinguish what to do, what not to do, the proper decision, how to go forward, when to stop, when to not to do it, and how to proceed, when to proceed. Especially because a pure devotee of the Lord, he hears the dictations of the Paramatma. Says here, we have to see. The soul actually one day should be able to see what's going on. Right now the soul is bewildered because of the dictations of the material energy. Okay, we'll stop here. You have any points? Any more points or questions on this topic? Very interesting, isn't it? Yes, sir. No mic here. I asked for a microphone. I told also Sumukha. He must have forgotten. What's going on here again? Okay. We need to improve our Bhagavad-Gita class here.
Just by spoken that we are attached to this body.
Yeah, we're so much attached to this body.
Beautify the body.
Always. Our body is like, that's why King Puranjana became a woman next life.
Can we try to keep this body fit only, not to beautify, to engage in a devotional service?
What's that again?
Can we keep this body fit, healthy, to engage in devotional service, so that we come in the morning early, we can listen to the arti?
Of course. You have to have this body fit. And Prabhupada says we should eat only to keep the body and soul together. Don't eat too much and don't eat too little. Just like we have one devotee now in Vani Ashram, he doesn't want to eat. Then you'll go crazy. You'll have a nervous breakdown. Right? We're not fanatics. Oh, I'm already eternally liberated soul. I don't need to eat anymore. I don't need to sleep anymore. I'll just serve Lord Krishna. You'll have a nervous breakdown. The heart will get affected. The nervous system will get affected. That means you'll go crazy. But not crazy for Krishna. Crazy that you are, you need some treatment. Yeah, we should be healthy. Don't forget that. Prabhupada says, health first, then sadhana, then service. Okay? You cannot do your sadhana if you don't sleep at night. You will fall asleep during japa time. But you will be fully awake during prasadam time.
Say again, my last one, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Huh?
The last sentence, please.
Which one?
Sadhana.
Then health. Yes, Prabhu, please. And service. That comes in sequence. Health, sadhana, and service. Sleep. Your sadhana actually start from the night before. You prepare your mind for the next day. When are you gonna get up? You will not even need an alarm clock to get up. You don't have to wait for the alarm, then snooze. One. Alarm gets off again. Snooze. 3 times. Snooze. Oh, it's too late now. I just want to sleep. Okay. Even before the alarm clocks gets off, you're up. Oh, it happens. It happens to me many times. I don't need the alarm clock. I get up before the alarm clocks gets off. Yes. Okay. Speak loudly, that's why I need a microphone. Next time.
When the body leaves the soul, when the soul leaves the body,
Okay.
the super soul is accompanied with that soul.
Yes.
So,
But he's not affected.
my question is, so that soul knows that I am leaving this body. Means when
Yeah, that's why the soul doesn't even want to leave the body. But you'll be dragged. If you're a sinful person, you'll be dragged by the Yamadutas to the courts of Yamaraj.
and if it is a good soul,
Then you go back to Godhead. What is a good soul? There is no good soul.
pious soul,
Pious soul, you still have to go there, Yamaraj. Because materially everything that you perform, either you will enjoy or suffer the reaction. Only the devotees are exempted going to Yamaraj. There'll be an airplane picking you up.
Suppose the soul has to take another birth. So, as you said now, that ego, intelligence, and mind goes with that soul.
Yes.
That means the karmas also, that soul goes along with in the another birth.
Of course. That's why you suffer or enjoy. Mind and intelligence are always with the soul as long as the soul is in the material world. After that, no more super soul, no more material, gross or subtle body. You will go to spiritual world and take your original form, your swarup, siddha swarup, your perfected form. The dogs and the cats, the super soul is still with the atma, with the jiva, but he's not affected. When the monkeys get beaten, you've seen that, monkeys, they suffer because the mind is attached to the soul. Ultimately, the soul doesn't get hurt, but the soul thinks that he is the mind. So, mind affects the soul because the soul is covered up. As long as we're covered up with these gross or subtle elements, we suffer or enjoy. You understand? Then when we leave this gross and subtle body, no more sufferings.
Who will decide this, the super soul or the nature?
It's your decision. It's your decision. What do you want to do?
Desire.
Yes, yes. But you cannot desire last minute. You cannot desire last minute, I want to become Krishna conscious. But for anyone who perform bhakti without any duplicitous mentality, without any pretensions, not hypocritically, Krishna, even at the time of death, you're finding it difficult to think of Krishna. This is one of Krishna's main qualities. He never forgets the service that's been done by his devotees. And that's why some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples who served him and who did a lot in the movement, when Prabhupada left, they also kind of like had distaste for bhakti. So they left, they fell into Maya, heavy Maya. But then, few months before leaving their bodies, they came back to the association of devotees, and in the end, devotees were chanting Hare Krishna and helped them to think of Krishna before leaving their body. But don't think that this will happen to everyone. Okay, these are very special souls. The service that they've done, it'll take us many, many lifetimes to be on the same level of the service that they perform. But each and every one of us is unique. So the best thing now is try hard as much as possible to do our very best. And your best, you don't compare to that person's best. Just like this squirrel carrying 1 or 2 grains of sand, and Hanuman says, what are you doing? You should carry these big boulders. And what did Ram says? No, let him. Let him go along. This is his contribution. Few grains of sand compared to the big boulders or mountains. But it's the same, because what Krishna is looking is that our efforts, our sincerity. It may be small. You can be only like sweeping the floor of the temple, and you can be doing the artik. For Krishna, this is the same. Okay? Is that all right? Yes, sir.
I think you have already given the answer, this answer. Last time, from this verse.
Hey, who's tomorrow? Try to get. This Sumukha, I told him, microphone is very important here. It's very difficult for me. Here are two things that we need: light and sound. Light and sound, okay? Yes, sir.
Like in this verse, it looks like the soul is like separate from the body.
It is separate. It is separate. It's like oil and water. We cannot mix it.
Like last time discussion, that the soul don't feel any suffering and happiness, only mind and this and
Yeah, because of the identification with the body, then the soul actually, whatever material things happening to us, the soul is not touched. It's not touched. But at the same time, why have the soul be put in that situation, seemingly that it is suffering? Ultimately, it is the material elements, the gross and subtle, the two bodies, they're the ones who are experiencing this. I gave the example of the yogi in the Himalayas, middle of winter, cold. They take bath. How can they take bath without, like freezing? Because they're beyond the bodily concept. So you'll get affected when you get into the bodily concept of life, which is mainly mental platform.
My question is like, I as a soul feel pain and pleasure. It's not me. I as a soul, because I'm a soul.
Yes.
That's why I'm feeling pleasure and pains. But because I'm connecting myself with mind. with the
Right.
material body and
That's right, because it's attached to the soul.
My question is like, mind itself cannot feel pains and pleasure.
Well, he only thinks.
Yeah.
That's the whole. He thinks. Again, is the misconception here. When you eat mahaprasadam, is the soul getting satisfaction? Yes, because that is spiritual. When you eat meat, is the soul getting nourished? Is the soul getting nourished? No. It is spiritual. It has nothing to do. But because of the misconception, again, that's why we suffer or we enjoy the results of our activities.
Like in that case also, like you said, like somebody is eating meat.
Yeah. He's thinking that the meat is very good. That is the mind thinking.
The feeling of happiness is coming to soul.
No, the soul doesn't feel anything.
Doesn't feel anything.
No, only the soul become happy when he chants Hare Krishna. This is what he called food for the soul.
Mind is material. Also material things can feel happy.
Because of that coverings again. The soul actually doesn't enjoy or suffer. He's a passenger. But then he gets affected because of the misconception. Ultimately. Okay? He says, you are lamenting for what is not worthy of grief. Here, Arjuna is in lamentation now. He does not want to fight because he's in the bodily platform, he's in the mental platform. So we just try to analyze that actually, if you are in the spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuta, nasochati, nakangshati. No more lamentation, no more hankering. So why do we lament and why do we hanker? Because the soul thinks that he is the body. But he is not the body. He is separate from the body. So if something happens to the soul, ultimately, if he knows that he is in the spiritual platform, he doesn't get affected. But he gets affected because he thinks that he's the body. Ultimately, he's not getting affected also. This is where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Now we understand? It's very difficult to understand this. No, we cannot analyze this. That's why we just have to hear the Bhagavad-Gita and learn from Bhagavad-Gita. And then someday, we will also realize it. Now it's analyzing with our mind is not possible to grasp. It's not. Puranjana is very, the story of Puranjana is very difficult because it's an allegory. It's very difficult to grasp. But we just have to somehow accept and realize it up to a certain degree. So the main thing here is not to be in the bodily platform. Okay? And bodily platform means mental platform. Because the mind is the king of the senses. And how to be not on the mental platform? We have to purify our intelligence. How to purify our intelligence? We have to understand we're not the body, we're spirit, soul. How do we understand we're not the body, we're spirit, soul? We have to perform sadhana bhakti. Okay? When we perform sadhana bhakti, after some time, we'll become into that spontaneous raganuga bhakti, and then bhava bhakti, and then prema bhakti. It's a stage by stage by stage. Okay? It doesn't happen like, one day. Arjuna, he did it. Because he's a pure devotee anyway. He just put into that situation whereby seemingly that he became like a conditioned soul like us. No. Arjuna is the best recipient of this knowledge. He was tested because Arjuna is a friend of Lord Krishna and his devotee. Right now, we're not friends of Lord Krishna, or we are not friends of Lord, but Krishna is our friend. Again, Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. Okay? We are opposed to Krishna, but Krishna is never opposed to us. Krishna will always want to give, but we don't want to accept. Krishna is the master, but we don't want to serve him. We always want, it's like a child. A parent will say, please do this. No. But it's good for the child. So we just have to follow Arjuna's condition here. Okay? And please continue on chanting and continue on hearing Bhagavad-Gita. Now it's nice. Now it's beautiful. Now is the light I can see. But during the Bhagavad-Gita class, in the beginning, I cannot. It's difficult. Of course, we're getting old. I need a better eyeglasses also. So we stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.